I remember when my son was in third standard, the same very park he used to come and play. And for my son, speed or anything of that sort, he was a daredevil. On this very swing, he was going swinging and swinging and swinging to such a height he went that he banged himself against the pole and his finger bone was out. And the next day I had to take him for a surgery. Just to tell you, he was a daredevil. Speed and all did not matter anything for him. These were some of his wear which he used to use for his athletic practices. He was studying in this classroom, and during the open days, he used to come to see the results of our children. And it was a day when he was so happy, he lifted me up and said, "Dad, you are the best dad in the world. And these results are not my results, Dad, these are your results." He was so happy to see that he had cleared in all his subjects. My family consisted of my wife, I had 2 daughters, and I had a son after the 2 girls. Mr. Gorbachev was a great man, and my son, having been born during those days with big ambitions, I also named him Mikhail after the Russian president, with great hopes of having that one day my son will be a great man. But then, as life went on, my son grew up. It was time for me to get him enrolled into school, and I got him enrolled in this very same school. We are sitting down here where I am narrating to you my story, and this son of mine was admitted into this very same school in standard 1. And it so happened that he was a very hyper child. He couldn't sit for more than 10 minutes at any given time for any given studies. And it so happened that as he went on in the first standard, he didn't do well, but then he went with some grace marks to the second standard. And finding that he was not good in academics, but since he was a very hyper child, full of energy and full of force, I thought that I should divert this force for something constructive. Hence, I thought of a bright idea of getting him enrolled into the football team. And this was the very same ground where I put him for selections, thinking that one day he will be a good footballer. But then my son, when he was put for selection, you see there is the goal post, and you got to shoot within the goal post. But my son was so full of energy that he would shoot the ball just out of the goal post, not in the goal post. And so he didn't make it in the selection. Then I did try the same thing with him in hockey. I said maybe he will do well in hockey, because I found he had a lot of energy, a lot of force into him. I said let's use that for something better. So I enrolled him for selections for hockey. But then again, as you know, he had no focus. He shot the ball, but in the goalpost, everywhere else. And again, he didn't make it into hockey. I spoke to his athletics sir, and I told him, I said, "Sir, can you do something about this son of mine? Can you divert this force into something constructive?" And the athletics sir told me, "Yes, sir, we'll try." So I got him enrolled into athletics, and for 3-4 months he went on for his practices. And after 3-4 months he began complaining that I'm getting some backache, some handache, some headache, some pain over here and pain over there. But I told him, "Son, don't worry, we will do one thing. Very soon you will be going for your inter-school practice, inter-school meet. And suppose you do succeed over there, we will carry on. If you don't succeed, we will give up. And very soon it was the time for his first athletic meet. And I remember we went, and I was running out of the ground while he was running on the ground. Come on, Mikhail, come on, Mikhail, come on, Mikhail. And to his good luck, for his first meet, he did click. He came out second. And after that, he told me, Dad, I think I will not give up athletics. I will carry on athletics. And from that day onwards, he put his heart and soul into athletics. So much so that he specialized into long distance running. And the coach told me, sir, he will do well. See that he carries on coming for practices. And this son of mine on this very same ground used to be here every day for 2 hours of practice. And he made it to the first place or the second place in many of the cross-country races, cross-road races, inter-school long-distance races, beach races, and he won a lot of gold medals, a lot of certificates, cash awards. And then after that, it went on till the 7th, 8th, 9th. And after that, in the 9th, being failed so badly, he was detained and could not be promoted to the 10th. And then that was the time when I asked my son, do you want to carry on or do you want to give up studies? If you say you want to give up, there is no pressure. Dad will not force you. We'll look into some other fields where we can look into and see that we do something else. And he told me, Dad, if at all I am going to study further, I have to be in the 10th. And so I enrolled him into the National Institute of Open Schooling, distance education. And in that, he did well. I used to sit with him one-to-one for studies. And every day, for about 1 hour, I used to sit with him, training him up for his 10th board exams. And when the exams were over, my son was so happy that in school he was not doing well with the normal stream, but in the distant education, in the education of open schooling, he did well, and in his results, he got something like 71%. Now it so happened that after we finished this 10th standard, knowing my son, he was very hyper, very active, full of energy, and he was a child full of violence. He used to break things, damage things, beat up people in the house, throw things down, take the remote and curse it up. And he used to be so violent that I used to get desperate sometimes. And I used to wonder whether anything could be done with this son of mine. And that was when I realized that I think my son is in depression and I think he needs to be treated by a psychiatrist. And that was the time when I was looking out for a psychiatrist, and ultimately finding one, I did take him for a treatment. This was when he entered the 11th after his 10th, and the treatment began, and it was just one tablet a day that helped my son so much. During this time of his treatment, I also tried many things to tell my son that it is not all that is studies alone. Don't get worried, don't get pressurized. No one is asking you to get pressurized that you got to study. And as a matter of fact, to boost him, to show him that besides studies, there are other ways and means how we can earn money decently, a decent livelihood. I one day took him to a vegetable market, and we saw a young boy selling vegetables. So went there and I asked that boy, how much profit do you make per day? And this boy said, Uncle, I make about 400 rupees a day. And I told my son, 400 multiplied by 30. Son, that gives you full 12,000 rupees. And when I asked that boy, the vegetable seller, how many hours do you put in? He told me, Uncle, I spend from 3 o'clock in the evening till 8 o'clock in the evening, just for about 5 hours. And he is earning 12,000 per month. Then I asked the boy as to how much did he study? And he told me he was a 4th standard failure. And I told my son, if a 4th standard boy can earn 12,000 rupees, son, you have finished 10th, you are in the 11th. And then that's not all. I put him for a short-term course, a wireman course, which he did for 3 months. And he got first-class diploma. And I told him, son, even with this little diploma, you can go and do a little repairing here and there, and you can earn some pretty amount per day. Like an electrician comes to our house, he changes the tube light, he charges us 50 rupees. We want some wiring to be done, 150 rupees, 200 rupees, 300 rupees, because we don't know it. But son, you know it, now you're a professional wireman. So you have already got a course in hand before you have finished your 11th already. So I tried so many things with my son just to tell him that study pressure is not all. There are various other ways in which you can earn your living decently, provided you have no shame and that you are ready to work hard. I took my son to Pune because he wanted to join the army, very interested. Now that we had a meeting with the major, and the major having explained to him what is army life, I wanted my son to exactly see what is army life. For that, I took him to Pune twice, to Khadki. I showed him the cantonment area, and I told him, son, see, this is one barrack here, the other barrack there, the third barrack there. This is an isolated life. Are you comfortable with this? And he told me, Dad, I simply love this life. I would like to join the army. And after some months, a month or two, it was time for us to go for a party. And as we were sitting out for a party there was an elderly gentleman sitting at the side of him, and he nudged into him and asked him, handsome boy, what are you going to do? What are you doing at the moment and what are you going to do afterwards? And he said, uncle, I am doing my 11th now. I propose to finish my 12th, and then after that I intend joining the army. And that elderly gentleman said, what a plan you're going to do. After you retire, there is no life. You'll be a watchman somewhere, you'll be a security guard somewhere, or at the most you might run an agency of security. There's no life, there's no money. Look at me, he said. I'm an old man today. I have been in the merchant navy. I've seen the world, ate the best, drank the best, and today I have a huge bank balance. You are tall, handsome, fair, lovely. Why don't you join the merchant navy? You will have a lot of money when you retire. And after the party was over, as we were going back home, my son began to ask me another question. Dad, what do you think? Should I join the army or should I join the merchant navy? And I told him, son, whatever you wish. I don't pressurize you for anything. Whatever you wish, Dad is with you along the way. And he said, I think I joined the merchant navy. So I went along, picked up a prospectus from all the shipping institutes. I sat with them page to page. There's the engine room, there's the deck, there's the officer, first officer, second officer, radio officer. And by this time he finished his 11th and he was already halfway through in the 12th. And one of his friends from his classmates asked him, Mikhail, what are you going to do after you complete your 12th? He said, I'm going to join the merchant navy. And his friends, they said, what are you going to join the merchant navy? We are going to join a 5-star hotel. Join us. Good uniform, good food, good tips, good salary. And so my son began to ask me, son, Dad, do you think I join the 5-star hotel? I told him, son, whatever you wish, Dad is with you. And by now, he was already getting ready for his final board exams. And with an intention now, finally, he has decided to join the 5-star hotel. And just a few days after this, it so happened that the two of us happened to come out of the clinic. And that is where his friends happened to see him and me. And the next day in college, he faced this question, as I said before. Who is mad? Is your daddy mad? And he said, no, daddy is not mad, but daddy is taking me for treatment. And that is where they told him that you are such a nice, wonderful, handsome man. Why do you need to go to that doctor? That doctor is treating all mad people. And I think your father is feeling that you are a mad person. And this is where he decided to stop taking his tablets. And now that he stopped taking his tablets, gradually he was getting back into his old shell, back into his depression. He stopped his treatment, getting back into depression, getting violent again, throwing things, getting hyper, not able to sit down for studies. And slowly, time for the exams. And it so happened, he went for his first paper. He had a bad habit. he used to sit down and calculate his marks after the exams, self-evaluation. And he got so worried, he found that he was going to get only 30 marks. He came back from the board all angry, all violent. I am going to fail, I am going to fail. I am going to get only 30 marks. I am going to fail. He threw his books to his bag, took out his shirt, flung it, took out his shoes, slippers, flung it, and got angry and sat down with violence. And I had to tell him, son, don't worry, it's okay. If you are not passed, forget it. I am not going to go for my next papers. Okay, son, don't go for the next paper. Dad is not pressurizing you for studies. Leave it, but don't get violent. Calm down. Be peaceful. And it took him 2-3 days to settle down, to calm down. And then it was time for us again to go for a party. And he told us, you all proceed. I will come a little later. I have a journal to be completed. I will complete my journal and I will join you for the party. And this used to happen before also. Whenever he had some work to be completed, and if there was some gathering or some outing, some party, he would tell us to go ahead and he would join us later. Similarly, like that day, not suspecting anything, we did believe him, we did go for the party, and we were waiting for him 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, only to get a call from the maid servant who said, please return home. There seems to be something fishy. The cottage is still in blackout. The son was playing here. Your son, Babu, was playing here. Now the lights are not on. The gates are open. The door is also open. But something seems to be fishy. And I rushed home and I put on the light only to see my son hanging. After giving all the support, leaving no stone unturned, giving shoulder to shoulder for him all these years, son, I am with you. Son, dad is with you. If dad is with you, everything is with you. Still, for all that, after so much of support, this was the ultimate. Actually, there were no signs of him on that day having fallen to depression or whatsoever. It's difficult to think as to what triggered the incident. Only thing I remember was it was worrying him that he was going to fail in that subject, that I'm going to get only 30 marks. And I told him, son, how can you get only 30 marks when dad sat with you? Every day I used to sit with him. And I told him, we will wait for the results. Wait for the results, let the results come out. Once the results come out, we will see what to do next. But he couldn't wait. He was so angry, so violent. I am failing, I am failing. And ultimately, when the results were out, it was surprising. He didn't get 30, he got 64 marks. And if he had to only wait for the results, probably this tragedy wouldn't have struck us. But he couldn't wait. He wanted results there and there. Sometimes when we have gone for the workshop, the very common question was asked to me was, very common, did you get angry with him? Do you feel if you see him, will you slap him? Or will you bang him? And I said, no, I never got angry. I never any time got angry. And I don't even today feel that I'm angry with him. But I only feel sad that after doing so much for him, supporting him, offering him every assistance possible, to have committed such an act, I still can't understand why. To any parent in my situation, I would straight away be bold and tell that parent to make sure that the treatment carries on, even if the child has stopped taking the medicines. In some disguise, in some form, make sure that that medicine goes down the system. Looking back, I think children who are in treatment should never be left alone, I think. Even if they say they are coming back, even if we trusted them in the past, which things never happened in the past, Like I always believe my son, go ahead dad, mom, go ahead for the party. I will join you later. With that same faith, that day we went for a party and he committed suicide. All his clothes I gave away, but some of these I did keep as memory because he was a good sportsman, he was a good athlete. So few of these t-shirts, his tracksuit, I kept back.